Okay, welcome everybody. This is just a little impromptu webinar that I decided to put together here, Andrew and I, in the last couple of days, as we notice sales really taking off and skyrocketing. Thanks to those of you that are watching down here on YouTube. I see a few of you coming in. That's really great. Thanks for joining us. It's a bit of an experiment today. I wanted to see what would happen if we didn't have a Zoom link. And I want to sort of train teachers to know that you can go to the YouTube channel without registering on Zoom and you can still watch us live there. It's just a few seconds delayed, but that's okay. Next week's webinar, like I mentioned in the email, I know that's how you found us here today, is from the email yesterday. Next week, we'll join through Zoom again if you like, or YouTube, and just know that you always have that option. But for today, I wanted to push everyone over to the YouTube channel just so you know it's there and you know how to access the live recording if you want to join us live and haven't registered on Zoom. There certainly is a way to do that. And I see a few of you there now, so thanks for joining us. So today, not too much to say today, but we just want to unveil and do a little soft launch, have a little fun with the new Mosaic series here. I know I've got my grade 1 book here, and this was released only a couple of weeks ago. I got my hand on this, and Andrew's got pre-grade 1 and 2 there. I've got all 3 here. I'm going to play from them a little bit later. We just want to walk through a little bit of the features of the books and get you excited about them. We're quite overwhelmed by the response because we realize a lot of you have committed to purchasing them already through the Andrew Harbridge website. I'll let him talk in a minute about the web store and how that's all working and going. And it's to the point we've had to do a second print run already because so many of you have ordered. And so, Andrew, maybe can you talk to everyone for a bit? Just give us an update on shipping times and what you're seeing on the web store there.
Okay, like you said, Derek, we sold out, and we did pick up a big bunch today, and will be any back orders. Anybody waiting for a book that has ordered, it will be shipped today. So you should have your books early next week, and of course, our turnaround's pretty quickly. We ship all UPS, and I believe it's mostly expedited Canada Post. So fairly quickly, but I'd say if you want to get these books before everyone else, order right away.
And we have another print run going in, and we expect to have those, what, in a few days maybe, Andrew, to ship out?
Which one?
The second print run we're doing, we expect to have those books ready shortly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So they're already ordered, and yeah.
Well, so that's how we get into it, people. This is how you can get the books. We know Long and McQuaid has also made a big order, so that the books are going to be on their shelves very soon, I would imagine. If not at the conferences, if you're attending the APTA conference in Alberta in a couple of weeks, or the BCRMTA even sooner, you may have the books ready for that. Otherwise, you'll see them on the Long and McQuaid site. I know it may take 3 or 4 weeks yet before they have them up on their website for ordering. But in the meantime, the place to go is andrewharbridge.com. Andrew, also tell us, can you just enlighten us about the Oneless website, which you also control, and are the books available there as well?
Yes, they're now available there. And if you are a retailer, I've gotten a couple messages from retailers. Head on over to Deborah Wanless. If you email me, I'll make sure my daughter, Carissa Harbridge, who runs Deborah Wanless Music, gets an account set up with you. So Deborah Wanless website does all the big orders, and I can take any of the small ones.
So we've got Harbridge Publishing House here, which is andrewharbridge.com. I've got on the screen. Andrew, can you see my screen right now?
Yes, I can. And I need to change that arriving to they're here.
They're here. And so you can order them on Andrew's site. I think there's one little advantage financially on your website. Is that right, Andrew?
No tax.
No tax on Andrew's website. If you order from Wanless here's the DeborahWanlessMusic.com site. You can see them all there. And we should mention, this is just for pre-grade 1, our prep level, grade 1 and grade 2. That's all that's available right now. We've really worked on the quality on this. We're really happy with how they look. We're going to give you a little peek at the inside so you can see what's there and how it looks. And grade 3, I think we're getting close to launching and doing a print run on grade 3 soon. Is that right, Andrew?
That's right. So we have all the final edits. Chris is just incorporating those little changes now, and we should see something very soon.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to guess 2 weeks. If all goes smoothly with the first proof, then that will give our printer time.
Here's on the screen, I'm just sharing what the covers look like. This is front and back cover combined. You can see we've got a nice new design here of a mosaic. When we started looking through the repertoire, we were seeing that we were getting from composers, and by the time we had Baroque, classical, romantic, modern selections, and then our contemporary composers that are still living, it offered just an incredible variety and eclectic mix of music. And so that's where the idea of Mosaics came in. The other idea behind Mosaics, the title, is that we're getting music from various regions across Canada, different types of folk music, music that seems pertinent or reflective of the cultures in places like Saskatchewan, Newfoundland, Ontario, British Columbia, Alberta, all over the country. And so I'll highlight some of those today later on, but that's where the title Mosaics come from. And on the back cover, you'll see an ad for the digital badge. It's something we're trying to get out in people's minds there. You can see the YouTube address to find us in our website as well. If anyone's interested in the digital badges, we have replays of webinars on the CCTV YouTube channel where you're watching right now, where you can take a look at those kind of things later.
Yeah, those badges are really good. I have a number of students, they are just too busy to get the whole program done, so the badge just fits the bill. They can work at it at their own pace. And yeah, it's a terrific alternative.
Yeah, it's working really well. A lot of teachers are exploring it and finding it. We won't talk too much about it today. I just wanted to mention that that's what we have on the back cover, so you can see that. Here's a look at the title page for the prep book, for example. And you have our editors here, myself, Andrew Harbridge. His daughter Carissa's doing a lot of the, or most of the engraving. And then also George Litters from Time Warp Technologies. He's a key partner in this as well in terms of editing and getting the files into SuperScore, which we'll talk about later. We have our music selection committee listed there, and then various other things on the title page. This is sort of our credits page. And then we've written an elaborate forward here. I'll just go over a little bit so that you understand where our editing process is coming from and about the Mosaics Collection. It's a series from pre-grade 1 to grade 8 that includes repertoire for Conservatory Canada examinations, and it'll provide you with a diverse body of music from a wide variety of genres and styles to suit both our classical as well as contemporary idioms exams. And so you can use this. We still publish the Canadian Contemporary Repertoire Series. That is still available through Long McQuaid and on the Hal Leonard website. We may be switching the publisher on that in the next year, but you can still use that music as well. But the Mosaics Collection specifically is going to include repertoire that you can use with either stream of exams. On a contemporary exam, of course, you'll want to focus on the Group 2 selections, on the modern stuff, but up to one piece of a classical nature can be used on a contemporary exam. So that's the thinking behind this, but we're still going to be offering our old books as well. If anyone still has the New Millennium series, and you'll still see that on store shelves for the next couple of years by the time the stock runs out, you can still use that on exams too, any of that repertoire for the foreseeable future. All of this music is still available on our syllabus lists. Efforts were made to include historical music previously unpublished in conservatory publications. We're trying to look for new music, music that we haven't seen before very much in conservatory publications. And I think you'll see a lot of that here when you look through this music. We're also trying to include music from Canada's diverse regions and cultures, and music written by forgotten women and BIPOC composers, as well as newly written music for this series by Canadian composers, and some from other composers around the world as well. So additional music from our expanded repertoire lists, as well as exam requirements, are only found on the exam syllabi on our website. We no longer list the exam information in the books. We're going to keep the books just simple to include music, but you'll also see biographies of the composers so that students have something to refer to if they need biographical information for their background information on their exam. So the grading of Conservatory Canada examinations are designed such that students are encouraged to learn many pieces at each grade level to become well-rounded enough in their skills to succeed at later levels. This is something we're going to talk about a lot starting next week when we get into the more detailed long-form webinars about how to pace students and what the thinking is and how the Conservatory Canada books are designed and the exam system is designed. In terms of editing, now, although the music was engraved using autograph scores and early manuscripts wherever possible, we don't ascribe to the fact that this is an urtext edition. Simply not. We've added editorial markings where we felt necessary to help you out a little bit, to give you an idea of some of the things that are acceptable to performance practice. And in the webinar starting next week, I'm going to go into a lot more detail about what is acceptable and how you can go about even editing our version and our edition here. I think pianists should feel free to explore and edit the scores from the Baroque and classical periods to suit their own understanding of the performance traditions that have evolved over time, and this series should not be treated as a final authority. Music from the Romantic and modern eras include edits according to the composer's indications wherever possible, and those should be adhered to. And for examinations, I know teachers ask about this a lot. Examiners are assessing based on this spirit of inquiry while honoring performance traditions within consensus guidelines that have been developed over time. So again, topics related to all these traditions are covered in our webinar series, and we're going to start that in more detail next week. And you can find those webinar replays on YouTube, right where you're watching this right now. And you can join us live Friday at noon Eastern time, almost every week. And again, you'll get an idea of the schedule when I send regular emails 2 or 3 times a month. The metronome markings include acceptable ranges, but there are other factors such as the performer's ability, the technical ability, personal taste, and appropriateness of the style may also play an important role in determining a performance tempo outside of those ranges. So that's not the absolute authority in terms of what we expect on an exam. And when it comes to fingering, we encourage players to explore different fingering possibilities in order to reveal those that are best suited to the individual pianist's hands. A lot of it is personal taste. We've given you some ideas in this that I think are a good place to start from, but they aren't always taking into consideration a smaller hand or a larger hand or the sound that you may want in the moment for that particular phrase, for example.
The fingering has gone through, well, you could say the composer, me, George, and then you have the final.
I guess I have the final say on fingering. There's a few things I'm changing and adding. So yeah, I'll take that responsibility if anyone doesn't like the finger. We'll talk about that in detail as we go along. And then we see at the bottom of the forward here the digital super score version. Those interested in the digital version were pleased to have the Mosaic series available for purchase on the SuperScore app, which is for iPad only. And you'll see certain SuperScore apps or certain SuperScore webinars pop up throughout the year. And we have several recorded already on the YouTube channel. You can see how that works. Instead of purchasing a hard copy, which students can still do, they, for roughly the same price, could purchase the SuperScore copy and have it on their iPad with many interactive features that Andrew and George will get into later in the year. And then, Andrew, can you talk about the recording of all the pieces? You've made efforts here to record all these tracks, and you have them posted now on Music Services.
Yeah, that's right. So all of the prep book recordings are on, let's see, iHeartRadio, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Deezer, Amazon, YouTube.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, and there will be more. I didn't know there were so many streaming services out there. There's probably 30 available easily. So you can listen to all these performances. None of these are robotic performances. So where possible, we got the composers to play it. So where have you been able to get the composer's performance for your piece? Some of the some of the modern ones, yes, it does happen. So the Gibsons, for instance, Christopher Norton, myself, and so it's just great to have that resource. And you can listen, if you subscribe to these services, it's free to listen to these, or you can buy the album. I think it's $5.99 if you want to actually own the recordings.
I've been able to find them myself even without a subscription, especially on YouTube. Most of these you can probably, even on Spotify, I think you can be able to still listen to the recordings if you want to scan through and see what kind of music they are, or give the students an idea of how it sounds. You should be able to access them even without paying, I would imagine.
Yeah, I did post the prep book on Teachers Canada, Piano Teachers Canada.
Right.
So you can go in there, there's a link right there, and you can listen to all the music for the prep level. I'm halfway through level 1, and maybe by Sunday I'll have the level 1 into the streaming services.
Excellent. So you can all expect those tracks to pop up as we release these different albums over time. Again, we have pre-grade 1, grade 1, and grade 2 available now. What do we think for grade 3? What kind of timeline are we looking at to release grade 3, Andrew?
I am hoping for 2, I would say at max 3.
3 weeks from now.
Yeah, it depends. We get a proof, and then it maybe will take a week. So if our first proof has problems, then it adds a week. So that might be our 3rd week in there. So it's something like that. Our turnaround is very quick compared to most places.
Yeah. And in our experience so far, we only did 1 proof for the first 3 books, and we were able to spit those out quite quickly. So that was really nice. Andrew and Chris are working really well. I'm just so pleased with the quality. If we look at the actual book itself, some of you are going to ask about coil bindings because we used to offer those with some of the books. But here we've got what I call the box binding. Andrew, what's this binding really called?
I was taught it's called perfect binding.
Perfect binding.
I don't know why.
Every time I open this, right from the first time, it just lays flat on my piano. I don't have to do any excess bending or anything. The staples look really, really strong compared to most bindings. And this is using the Trent University printer at Trent University. I believe that's what they're called. Is that right?
Um, they go by the name Campus Print, I believe.
Campus print of Trent University. It's really good quality. I think you'll like, I mean, a huge improvement over the New Millennium series. For those of you that don't know, when we changed publishers about 10 years ago, we didn't have source files. We had to use scans, and Helen had worked really hard to clean up those scans. But still, I know the grade 4 book especially was very problematic. Things were just a little blurry. This is a total revamp from that. And not only that, but when we look inside, and I'll get into this here on the page, I'll come back to table of contents. Not only is the font going to be crisp and clear, what you'd expect in a modern publication, but the font is a little bit larger than we used to use for pre-grade 1, grade 1, and grade 2. I find it much easier to see as a teacher from a distance, but I think for students too, they're going to see things really clearly on the page. And then in the higher grades, we're going to make things a little bit smaller. I think we still have to iron out those
Yeah.
details.
Do you know, I think if you compare the stave size in these new books with the old, it's maybe only 2 millimeters, but it seems quite significant because you notice it. When
Yeah,
you open that book, you notice it's a little bigger. And my vision isn't always the greatest, uh, especially sitting in my bench teaching. So I really highly value nice, clean, clear scores. And I think the students, the easier it is to read, I think the easier it is to learn.
so
So
here's a shot here of just a table of contents for the pre-grade 1 book. And you can see what some of the scores look like here. And I'm going to play through some of these in a moment. What are some of the other things that said here? We have metronome markings there. Again, we talked about that a little bit. The font is a little larger. We talked about the editing. You're going to see later when we get to group 1, you're going to see group 1 or grade 1. Group 1 and group 2 will be denoted in the bottom right-hand corner so that we know that's reflective of the modern syllabus. This was a problem in the old books, which were still list A, list B, list C studies. Of course, we've done away with those groupings and studies. We have much broader groups now with our piano syllabus so that students have flexibility. They can choose a piece from group 1, one piece from group 2, one from group 1 or group 2, plus then they get a known choice piece after that. So it's quite flexible, but you'll see the groupings right inside the book now. We're trying to emphasize a lot of music from forgotten women and BIPOC composers, and you'll see those throughout all of the books. And then as well as modern Canadian composers. Some of the names will be familiar, some of them may be new to you. I know I've learned about some new composers in the past few months researching this music. What do you
it was
think?
also very deliberate. We didn't squish the scores.
Right.
That one you just had on there, we could have squashed it into 2 lines, but it's just so much nicer to read this way.
Yeah, absolutely. This is
So
really
no cramping.
yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to exit out here for a second. I'm going to make sure everything's okay on YouTube there, those of you that are watching, in case anyone has any questions. Feel free if you want. Those of you, there's a bunch of you watching right now. Go ahead in the chat box. If you have any questions or comments about this, go ahead and just throw those in the chat. And we're happy to answer those as we go. But I think today, I don't want to keep us too long, but I want to go through and play a little bit for you, give you an idea of what's in this book or in these books in terms of music. And so I'll try and scroll through the music here. I have to change my volume and my mic and all that kind of stuff because I've got a new microphone experimenting with here and original sound is going to come on. So you're going to hear my voice a little differently now. My voice is going to quiet down, but I know I've got a setting here that's more conducive to the piano.
And I might mention there's some variation in level. For instance, we have a piece that's all black keys, and there are some that are only 2 lines long. So we have a bit of range. If the student completes most of the book, they're going to move to grade 1 very easily.
I think so, yeah. The pre-grade 1 is an interesting thing. It's such a broad range. We tried to focus more on that music that's just a little bit before grade 1, but you'll see some pieces that I'll play even today are definitely a bit easier than that. and some that are almost as challenging for a grade 1 student, I would think. So yeah, there is a broad range in this particular book. So I'm just going to head over to the piano now. Hopefully you can still hear me talk. And I'm going to start in pre-grade 1 with this jazzy march that you see on the page. And this is by Nathaniel Dett, arranged by Deborah Wanless. And then next we're going to go to page 12, which is a Czech song. You can see some familiar tunes as I'm scrolling through here. So this is arranged by one of George Lither's friends, Paul Sheftel. They do webinars together over for Superscore. And this is a Czech folk song, number 1.
Paul was an Alfred publisher, I believe, and he was with Carl Fisher for quite a while.
Is my audio coming through with the piano okay, Andrew? Okay. And then, only a couple pages past that, we have a piece that's arranged by George Lythers. This is by Ignatius Sancho, the Lady Mary Montagus reel. A nice short one, but of course you can use the repeats on that and makes it a little bit longer. Really good work to work on students in their staccato. Page 20, this is Evening Song by Ernst Schneider. Ernst Schneider lives in British Columbia, and we have a couple of pieces here that I'm going to play through of his today, but a really thoughtful song here that gives us something a little more lyrical, more legato, a different feel altogether from a lot of the other pieces.
I love that ending.
It's nice, isn't it? Very sensitive music. And then right next door to that on page 21, a madrigal that Andrew is arranged by Melanie Bonis. You hear lots of phrasing detail in these to work on. And then just a quick look at some of the other pieces. Go ahead, Andrew.
Can I mention there's lots of music familiar to a young person, like Happy Birthday to You, Hickory Dickory Dock, This Old Man, London Bridge.
Frere Jacques.
Yes, Frere Jacques.
And then we have Rock This Town by Andrew himself here, so some of these more contemporary styles here. So quite a few in the pop rock genre styles there. So that is what we have for pre-grade 1. Just to give you an idea of what's in that book a little bit. And I just need to get out of here for a second. I'm just going to stop sharing for a second. Switch things up on my screen. And we're going to go over to grade 1. Let's play a few songs from grade 1. There's a few pieces here so you can see what's in the book. I know that's probably what you're most curious about. Everything at the beginning is the same. Here's our table of contents. Just give you a moment to look at this. I think some of you that have been around for a while, Conservatory Canada, You may recognize the odd piece from our old Western Ontario Conservatory music books. And also I suspect a few pieces, or maybe not a few, a couple of pieces from the old Western board books that were available in Western Canada back in the 1980s and 1970s. We've resurrected some of those favorites because that's going back at least 25 years now that those books were available. But a lot of the stuff, again, it is quite new and modern. This one by Bootstedt was in the old Western Ontario Conservatory music book.
Derek, your screen isn't showing up.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I need to share that. 1 second here. Let's share screen again. And I'll go back to table of contents.
There we go. Maybe we could have one more peek at the index.
Yeah, there we go there. So take a look through there and see, people, what's coming up. Again, you'll see some of these are familiar. You'll see, I notice, in terms of women composers here, we've done quite well, I feel, with Anna Bon, Elizabeth de Gamberini.
Hedwig Vig Chrétien, Marguerite.
Balutet, Mel Bonis.
Hannah Smith is a neglected composer from the past.
Right. So we've got lots here actually in grade 1. It's quite nice. Where was I going to start here? Just going to get back to the piano. And for grade 1, I'm going to start at page 14. With this medieval English song. So this is sometime in the Renaissance, anonymous piece. It actually did appear in our old Western Ontario Conservatory music books back about 25, 26 years ago, and then some. And it's a real favorite from back then. Some of you may recognize this.
Now, I noticed on your screen the 16th notes look like a very thick bar, but in the copy here, it's quite clear they're 16th notes.
Yeah, it is. It is very clear in the hard copy. So it's not often we get to play something from the Renaissance period. And so that's why we wanted to include that piece in there.
That's a nice one.
Yeah. And then after that, I've highlighted here today on page 1819, two pieces, two minuets in fact, with lots of minuets here going. This one by Anna Bon, and this is edited by Sandra Mogensen, who did a couple of publications with One West Music a couple of years ago. We had Sandra on a webinar back then. And so these are from her book, I believe, right, Andrew?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the minuetto in C major. And then another Baroque minuet by Elisabetta de Gamberini. Difficult little piece to really pace yourself. We'll come back to that piece perhaps next week in our longer webinar. But you can see it's nice to have some Baroque music that we haven't heard before necessarily. And you can see some more of it here as well. Lots of music that may be rather unfamiliar, at least most of it's new to me. Here's a pre-classic piece of Romanza by Daniel Steibelt. Again, really sensitive and lyrical. into another aspect of the music here that I didn't expect when I saw the first group. I was pleasantly surprised by these little quotes that we have here and there. And I think if I go to the second page, you can see it at the bottom here. I should be sorry if I've only succeeded in entertaining them. I wish to make them better, and that's by George Frederick Handel. So they've included here, Andrew and his team, a bunch of inspirational quotes by famous composers, which is really nice to see. And so you'll see those littered wherever we have space throughout the books. Now, how about something by Nancy Telfer? This is a really neat piece. Andrew, is this a new piece unpublished anywhere else?
No, this is from the Galaxy series.
The Galaxy, her Galaxy series?
I believe I'm right on that.
Okay. That's a neat piece there. And again, lots of different styles here. You'll see we're just scrolling through them quickly. There's Edwige Chrétien, Marguerite Baluté, Deborah Wallace, Christopher Norton. We try to have at least one piece from his Connection series in each of the books. More music by Andrew Harbridge. See another quote there. Brock Chart, someone who we featured.
He writes some really great stuff.
Yeah. So we've been fortunate enough to get a couple of his pieces in there. And this is one I want to play next. I'm just showing the first page for now, but this is a 2-page piece. Almost like an Austrian waltz, the way this lilts along here by Alice Tenier.
Very nice.
Robert Schumann, nothing right can be accomplished in art without enthusiasm. So great messages to really, strike our students with, I think. And let's do one more here. There's no Canada there, arranged by Andrew. We also have one in the pre-grade 1 book, which is great. I would like to play this here, this piece by Carl Reinecke, Sonatina in F. We put this in group 2. More of a romantic composer. Something can come from nothing. What I have become is the result of my hard efforts. Franz Josef Haydn. So that's a little look at grade 1 and some of the music we have there. I'm just going to come over here now to grade 2 and give you a little look at what that looks like. Andrew's holding up the cover there. I'm sure a lot of you are interested in what we're including in grade 2. When I look through here again, all the Baroque and classical music is grouped into group 1. I know we're seeing Soldier's March by Robert Schumann in group 1. That's going to be moved to group 2. It already is in the new books you'll be getting. This is just a slightly old PDF. And then in group 2, everything that is romantic and modern in nature, and you'll see a wealth of living composers there, many of them Canadian. So I'd like just to go through a few of these for you here too, if I can. And I think we'll start with, what did I earmark here? A bourrée that I had not seen before by Johann Kunau, not to be confused with Kula.
This was interesting. Checking the original score, the left hand isn't in bass staff.
Oh wow.
It was in some other clef. I don't remember.
It has that real Bourrée-like attitude to it.
We
Henry,
tried to include the sources so they're easy to find. We did a lot of homework on where they're from.
and then this Landler, an Austrian waltz by Beethoven. This arrangement appeared in the Old Western Ontario Conservatory music books as well back in the 1980s. It's nice to see this in print again. Not so simple, not as simple as it looks for grade 2, but lots of fingering there. And then you can see more Beethoven, Kernberger, Atwood. We've got some standard Bach minuets from time to time, another piece by Ignatius Sancho, more Beethoven, some Handel, Leopold Mozart. And then this one here I'd like to play next, a prelude that I hadn't heard before from Henry Purcell. The chord progression is reminiscent of some famous themes, I thought. And again, these ones are all from group 1. And then I'd like to play next a piece by Schumann, the Soldier's March, a little more famous piece. It's not that we don't see this often in conservatory albums, but I think it really fits here quite nicely and gives students something to play that allows them to use their whole arms a little bit more. That's Soldier's March.
Lots of fun.
So that's the beginning of group 2. Ancient Legend by Lynette Sawatsky. That's going to be a great one. I think you'll all really like. Once in a while, we have something by Lee Evans. I thought I had highlighted this one to play.
This is one of his last compositions, only available here.
And you had pencil to paper copies of these old music that you got from his family. Is that what happened?
That's right.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll be worth $1 million.
Never in print before, and there are several of these throughout the series, even in these first 3 books by Lee Evans. Tricky
Uh,
little numbers.
it is. This one comes with background accompaniment in the Superscore version. And my daughter, Chrissa, who's a drummer, she composed the drumming part.
Oh, neat. I look forward to hearing that. And then, again, this piece here, Beth Hamilton's Ontario composer, I believe, and she's written a series that looks like different folk musics from across Canada and different provinces. And this is her New Brunswick composition called Caraquette. This is really difficult to play, so I'm going to do my best here. exciting, lots of energy in that one. And again, that goes along with this theme of different regions of Canada and highlighting different folk musics that we see. Now, the next one I'd like to look at again is another one by Ernst Schneider, simply for its ability to bring us down and get really lyrical again, a really inventive little piece called Sad Story. He has a unique way of weaving things together like that. You'll see Karen Roll's name come up. We have some stuff like Bella Bartok. Again, Lee Evans, Julianne Workington. This is a really neat piece I'll feature in a couple of weeks, I think. Jesse Brown from Saskatoon.
This is a very cool piece.
That's a really, yeah, I'd like to feature that one again too. Angelina Gibson, the Lullaby. I think I played that for everybody back in June or at the end of May. And then, O Canada by Sheila Tiro. And then we have here, I won't play this one last, the Quiddy Viddy Shuffle, Joan Woodrow, one of our longtime examiners, teacher in St. John's, Newfoundland, who's recently written a series of music inspired by folk musics and scenes in and around St. John's. So the Quiddy Viddy is an interesting little market near downtown St. John's where you can do quaint little things. And this is just about a stroll through that market. Insignificant, and to play without passion is inexcusable.
That sounds so Beethoven.
And the book concludes with Sugarcane, Christopher Dorton, which I think is his strongest piece in level 2 connections, which is really great. Here's a look at the bios, so you can see we've got bios. I think he prepared these on all of the composers. Your daughter Sharia, I think, put this together.
Yes.
And you can see them all here with photos wherever possible. Everyone's looking so distinguished. I'm going to stop share there. So that's a little look at the books. That's what we had planned for you today, to give you an idea about what's there and what you can look forward to if you want to support the music and support the project by ordering the books. I see some questions here in the live chat here. Della is saying, no questions, but can't wait to get your hands on the books. That's great to hear.
They're on their way.
They're on the way.
I wrapped them myself.
Sonia says, this has been wonderful so far. Love knowing more about the details and thought put into the printing, the binding, the selection, etc. And so excited to find this at the APTA conference. Linda's saying, hoping you can watch the replay. Absolutely. And that's why I've tried to get you all on YouTube here today, because you'll notice that the replays live here automatically. So within a few minutes of us stopping the webinar, the webinar replay will be there right on the YouTube channel. And there's different ways to find where it is. I tend to put everything into playlists as well. There's tabs you can click on. I can't remember exactly which one it is. Maybe I should try that out and show you. Because sometimes YouTube can, there's so much content on our site now, it can make a bit of a mess of things. But if you go to Home, there's a Home tab, there's a Videos tab, there's a Live tab, there's a Playlists tab. If you go to the Live tab, you'll see the most recent live broadcast, which we are doing today. But you can also go to Videos tab and select Latest, and you should see them all in order there. And while you're at it, we have 3 years of content here on the CCTV YouTube channel that you can check out all the webinars from. At least 24 webinars every year. There's mock exams there, which I'd encourage everyone to check out. There are overviews of the classical and contemporary Ignis piano syllabi that we offer. There's overview of the digital badge repertoire as well. So, Andrew, do you have anything to add here that would enlighten people about the series?
I think you've done a great job at covering everything. It is my goal that the music is very clean and clear and easy to read.
That's well, you've
So
done a
do
fantastic
let me
job.
know, everybody, if we accomplish that.
Yeah,
I am curious what people think of the pieces
yeah, me
in
too.
there.
I hope you enjoy them as
So
much as I do.
all
And
the feedback will be read.
yes. And if anyone spots any errors or typos, please let us know. You can email me, Derek, at conservatorycanada.ca. You can email Andrew as well at Harvard Publishing House. And of course, we do smaller print runs, so we're able to fix those things quite easy should they pop up. We've had many eyes on it so far. We don't see anything outstanding right now that we can find, but you may find something there, so please let us know.
There's a challenge.
Yeah, oh yeah. The other thing too is back in June, I kept forgetting to organize this, but we did select 3 winners from a draw. We had a teacher survey, actually that was in May, for to give us feedback, and we really appreciate the feedback everybody gave us. And I have since not communicated. Back in June, I did select 3 winners to receive those Mosaics books, the series when they're all finished. And so I'll be reaching out to those 3 people, and we'll make their names public later on, so that you know that we've done that. So some of you will be receiving the books automatically. But go ahead and order these from the Harvard Publishing House website or onelessmusic.com. Thanks for your support so far. It's been very overwhelming. We're working hard to get the next books out there. Grade 3 will be next in about 3 weeks' time or so. And then beyond that, grade 4, when do we think, Andrew?
We have quite a bit of work done on grade 4. All the pieces are recorded
Mm-hmm.
and quite a few scores done already. So I'm hoping for one a month.
Be great. Maybe by the end of October, that grade 4 will be ready too. And then from there, again, we're going up to grade 8. If anyone's wondering, grade 9 and 10, not as much of a market from those. Our old books are still available right now. We don't know how much longer those are going to be available, but we're not publishing a 9 and 10 going forward. Of course, there's plenty of music available in the public domain that you can find from our syllabus lists and elsewhere. So grab those books, the old New Millennium series books for 9 and 10 if you're curious about an anthology for those. And of course, as always, if you find music in your library that isn't on our syllabus list and you want to use it on an exam, just send a copy to the office by email, and we will give you free approval if we deem that it is appropriate at the right level. So, thanks for joining us today here. We spent a little more time than I thought we would today, but I took some time to play through that music for you. So
Yeah, thanks.
books. Yeah.
Thanks, Derek.
Yeah, and thanks, Andrew, for joining us today. He's going to join us whenever he can on the Fridays. And we'll see you all next Friday. I know in your email, I'll hit you again next week. There's a registration link there to join on Zoom. And we're going to go in a little more detail. We're going to look at Grade 1, Group 1, Baroque and Classical Music from the Mosaic series. And then as well, we'll be expanding on that every week after that. And if you want to just join us like you did today here on YouTube, either those of you watching on the replay after the fact, those of you that have joined us here live today, thanks. That's how you can get a hold of us and reach us live without having to go through Zoom if you don't want that trouble. So thanks everyone. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope the start to your teaching year is going well. I know a lot of you have already started this past week, and I know many more of you are starting this coming Monday. Good luck with the coming academic year, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thanks Andrew. Bye everybody.